A cloudy day over parts of the state with some isolated storms, but now we're bracing for a very hot weekend. Those warm temperatures could even follow us into next week. Thanks for being here at 10 o'clock. I'm Alexandra Lewis.
And I'm Angela McCall. All of this warm weather is due to a ridge of high pressure that we're expecting this weekend, which means that we could see it, with some of our plans, Corey.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to see quite a bit of sunshine, a little bit less rain over the weekend. But tonight, man, the folks out here on the Northeast Plains got the full-on tropical storm experience with heavy rain flying sideways in 70-mile-per-hour winds tonight. The live camera out here on the Viero Tower in Holyoke still rocking with lots of lightning strikes off in the distance here as that storm finally starts to move out of that area. You can see it here on radar coming from the Logan County, really the top of Logan County, all the way across. Phillips, Sedgwick, Yuma counties all getting lit up tonight with these very heavy rain and very strong winds tonight. So quite a bit of a storm out that way. Here's the forecast for tomorrow as far as the temperatures go. About 90 degrees across most of the Front Range and Northeast Plains, some 70s and 80s in the mountains. As we get quite a bit of sunshine early on, we will have some isolated storms along the Front Range tomorrow, but then we really start to dry out on Sunday, and then we start a big warm-ups that starts on Monday and could last all through the week. More on that coming up in the full forecast.
A 41-year-old man faces charges for shining a green laser at several aircrafts, including one from Colorado State Patrol.
9 News reporter Shalima Maharaj is here. And Shalima, you spoke with a pilot who's experienced at least, a dozen laser strikes?
That's right, and he has been a pilot for the last 8 years with Flight for Life. And essentially, when it comes to these types of strikes, they're known as laser strikes. They can be incredibly dangerous, not just for the people who are on board, but also the people operating the aircraft. Now, a warning, some of you may find the images, specifically the lights in the CSP video, jarring.
Video from Colorado State Patrol shows a beam of green light flashing up at one of their pilots.
And Air One, we've got video of this.
It was taken during a traffic operation above Commerce City Thursday night. CSP heard reports over the radio that someone had been pointing a laser at commercial airplanes.
Y'all can go ahead and just detain him and start searching for that laser pointer, but this is a felony.
Kathleen Meyer is the executive director of Air Medical Transport Service Flight for Life.
Anyone can walk into a store that sells them and purchase the most powerful laser made, which is the blue laser, and use it indiscriminately.
And Meyer knows just how costly a laser strike can be.
So it was a clinical crew member in an airplane on short final into Centennial Airport. This was back in 2017, happened to look out the window at just the wrong time and was struck by a laser.
After that, he was unable to keep working with the organization.
The lasers tend to fan out the further away they are. So a pinpoint laser from 8 to 12 feet, at a distance of a couple hundred or 1,000 feet tends to get wider. So the whole cockpit starts to kind of sparkle and light up.
Pilot Ron Tranny has experienced around a dozen laser strikes in his 8 years with Flight for Life. He's urging people to make better choices.
It is really good for us as an industry of pilots, to have some sort of public consequence for doing something that's dangerous. People think it's an innocent thing, and it's really harmful to us.
Now, the suspect faces a number of charges, including unlawfully aiming a laser device at an aircraft and driving under the influence of drugs. In Denver, Shalima Maharaj, 9 News.
Federal agents are on day 2 of their search for a man they tried to arrest during an immigration operation northeast of Colorado Springs. They say they arrested the person he was with. ICE says the two are in the country without authorization. The agency says they tried to ram their car into an ICE officer yesterday, and that an ICE officer fired 3 shots into their car. Nobody was hurt. ICE says the men inside took off, later abandoning the car in Black Forest. The agency announced today that they arrested Francisco Zapata Pacheco. They say they're still looking for this man, Jose Mendez Chavez. ICE says he has multiple convictions and has been removed from the U.S. 6 times before.
2 teenagers face charges for the shooting death of a man in Aurora. It happened July 21st on Kenton Street east of Havana. Police say a 14 and 16-year-old lured two men into an apartment complex parking lot to rob them. According to detectives, the teenagers shot and killed 21-year-old Jalen Monton. Police say they also shot at another man who managed to get away unharmed. The names of the teenagers are not being released because they are minors.
A judge has ruled against the family of a teenager shot and killed outside of East High School. The family of Luis Garcia filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Denver Public Schools. Somebody shot Luis outside of East High more than 2 years ago. So far, nobody still has been arrested. The family claims the district made the campus unsafe by removing police from the school. But a judge ruled the shooting happened off school grounds and the claim against DPS was dismissed. The family attorney plans to appeal the decision and claims investigators have been dragging their feet to make an arrest.
It's been the same, frankly, false promises, hollow platitudes as to what they're going to do to bring justice to their son.
The district attorney's office said in a statement it remains optimistic the right people will be held accountable for the murder.
Poudre School District in Fort Collins is not bringing back 10 paraprofessionals for the upcoming school year. Parents say it's because of a leaked private text showing pictures of students. We spoke to one mom whose daughter is nonverbal. She said the leaked text thread included some stickers that paras made out of the students' faces, including her own daughter's. Abby Cooperman feels that this was a situation that was blown out of proportion.
Many of us parents have had these paras in our home, have trusted them. PSD says the school is an extension of the home. They just fired our family.
Now, during a Board of Education meeting in May, a community advocate spoke on behalf of other parents who wanted to stay anonymous.
I became aware of a text message thread between 13 PSD staff members that were using images of disabled students for sick and demeaning entertainment purposes.
School district told 9 News hiring is underway to make sure the program to help special needs students is adequately staffed for this upcoming year.
A transgender college student in northern Colorado says his student loans through the federal government have just disappeared. It comes 6 years after he changed his name. Alexander Goodjoin attended Front Range Community College last year. When he went to enroll again for this fall, he says they had no record of him in their system. In May, he received this letter from his loan service officer saying the U.S. Department of Education had conflicting information about his social security number and they need to verify information. Well, Goodjoin says he sent them everything they asked for, but with school less than 3 weeks away, his loan hasn't been processed.
I spoke to the director of financial aid for Front Range this morning, and he said that he would expect this impact within a year of me changing my name, but that it doesn't make sense this far out.
A spokesperson for Front Range Community College says they have not observed any unusual activity related to federal student loans, but they're actively in contact with Alexander to provide some help. The Department of Education declined to comment on the matter today. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting says it will shut down by the end of the year after being defunded by the Trump administration.
9 News reporter Spencer Soicher joins us. Spencer, the move will have a pretty significant impact on at least one Colorado affiliate and probably hurt some of the smaller stations.
Yeah, it's about their ability to deliver emergency alerts. President Trump has argued that NPR and PBS are biased news sources and should not be funded by the federal government. But it's the local affiliates that may be hurt and rely on that funding. And in this case, this move may strip away the ability for a rural Colorado station to put out critical emergency alerts.
You're listening to KSUT Tribal Radio.
Hearing that station ID on the radio is not guaranteed in rural southwest Colorado.
You know, I've come to learn to expect anything lately, but
Tammy Graham runs KSUT Public Radio in the Four Corners region of the state. It's an NPR affiliate, but the station and public media are fighting to hang on.
Obviously, we knew we were losing our federal funding, our 20% of our budget.
Last month, a budget bill passed by Congress and backed by President Trump cut off $1.1 billion in funding for public broadcasting. The Center for Public Broadcasting announced Friday it was taking steps toward its own closure. CPB helps fund both PBS and NPR and their local affiliates like KSUT.
This isn't an issue about NPR or PBS. This is hitting local and rural communities the hardest.
Tammy says CPB closing means KSUT will lose out on a $500,000 federal grant awarded to fix their towers and provide reliable emergency alerts.
The equipment we have is being held together basically with duct tape and glue.
In an area with unreliable cell service and internet and prone to fires, radio is critical for emergency alerts.
And there's a reason we got this $537,000 grant, because we demonstrated how aging our equipment is at these critical tower sites, critical for emergency alerting to our very rural region.
Do you see a scenario in the near future where there's an emergency and you're not able to get things to people who need it?
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Hearing KSUT on the radio is not a given, especially now that CPB is closing, and so is the station's chance to fix its towers.
Because this is critical. This isn't a partisan issue, emergency alerting. Come on.
KSUT is one of 3 Colorado public media stations, along with NPR, that's suing the Trump administration in an attempt to block federal funding cuts and restrictions to the broadcasters. That's still ongoing. Graham says they've received more donations from their local community in recent months, and that's something that conservatives have argued should be the funding structure here. Graham, though, says they are providing a public service and the general public should contribute. Spencer Soysher, 9 News.